Good morning everyone. How are you doing? It is a chilly one today. I did my run in 0 degrees this morning, but I am back in the warm and cozy, and now I'm with the very lovely Tree Hall. Hello.
Hello, it's so lovely to be here. And I'm sitting here in my cozy office with the heater on absolutely full blast. And I'm so admiring that you went out for a run in 0 degrees this morning. That's immense.
Yeah, the other morning I went out and it was raining and I was just like, I regret my decision.
You question your life choices, don't you? But it's good.
Yeah.
It's good. You did it.
Absolutely. Oh, good. I always have a moment because there's a delay between when we start talking and when it shows up on LinkedIn, but we're there. So good. I did just say to you though, it is cycle day 25 for me and my words aren't on point. So we'll just see how this goes. But I just, it's part of the hormonal experience. So just being authentic.
It's part of the joy of being a person that bleeds, isn't it? That's the fun. That's the fun and games of it.
Absolutely. So with that in mind, I will definitely hand over to you to introduce yourself and tell everyone what you do. At least I get it wrong.
Oh, I doubt you would, but thank you. Firstly, thank you so much for inviting me to have this conversation with you this morning. I've been so looking forward to it. For people that don't know me, I'm Tree Hall. I have the two best jobs in the world. I genuinely do. My day job or main job is as chief exec of Charity IT Leaders, which is an amazing charity that supports other charities to get the best from their tech and digital investments. So if you're listening from a charity or non-profit and you want to find out more about that, jump on my LinkedIn profile afterwards because I'd love to talk to you about how we can support you. My side hustle or my other job is as founder of an organisation called Neuronique. And Neuronique came about 2 years after I got my autism diagnosis, which was absolutely life-changing for me. And we'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. But when I got my diagnosis, I realised that there was so much about my life that was just not the way I had imagined it to be. And I think that's a very common kind of experience for people who are late diagnosed. But there didn't seem to be at the time, thankfully there's a lot more now, but there didn't seem to be at the time a lot of people talking about the impact of a late diagnosis. And so I started doing talking, presenting, coaching, and a bit of consultancy around neurodivergence in the workplace and what late diagnosis might look like and feel like. And from that, Neuronique was born. And I love it. I love both my jobs. I love that I get to talk about people and neurodivergence and inclusion and accessibility, and I get to do a bit about tech as well for the day job. So it's just a brilliant mix.
I love that. And of course, this is a Bloody Truth Neuro Nibbles mashup. Because you have your very own bite-sized podcast. We're a fan of the bite-sized information.
We love small, accessible bits of information because often neurodivergent brains, sometimes if you go into hyperfocus, that's it, you're on something for hours. But often we find information easier to assess and dissect and assimilate if it's in smaller chunks. So yes, I do have a podcast. I've taken a bit of a break recently, but it's called Neuro Nibbles, and it's all about those easy, accessible chunks of information, very much talking from my lived experience. So not trying to say that my experience is the only experience, but things that I want people to know about neurodivergence, whether you're neurodivergent yourself or think you might be, or whether you are just generally wanting to know more or support other people who are neurodivergent. So yes, do check that out if you haven't already. And I'll be back in the new year with more episodes. And we're going to flip it, aren't we, in the new year? You and I are going to do this again, but it'll be Neuro Nibbles meets the Bloody Truth, and we'll carry on the conversation.
Yeah, exactly that. Yes, we've got lots to talk about today. First of all, I really wanted to touch on the kind of, I know I talk a lot about periods and hormones and neurodivergence and that intersection, and we've touched on it before. And as a neurodivergent person, the experience of having a menstrual cycle is different. There are different times in the cycle where sensory sensitivities will be worse, emotional regulation, executive function will shift around. And because you never just get the spicy, do you? You normally get, it's like a Kinder Surprise. You never know what you're going to get. I mean, I got ulcerative colitis. So other people might have fibromyalgia, another autoimmune condition. Yeah, also I'm dyslexic, so it's never just one thing. And, you know, because our hormones shape, you know, everything about, you know, how the energy that we have, the capacity that we have, it also means it shapes that experience of our neurodivergence, of chronic conditions, and our energy. But when perimenopause hits, like fire.
Yes. That I mean, it's there's nothing Kinder Surprise about perimenopause and neurodivergence, but for me, actually, hitting perimenopause just after I had got my autism diagnosis, I mean, it was a double whammy. So just to give a bit of context for people that don't know, so I got my autism diagnosis at 47 and then was diagnosed with ADHD at 48. I had no idea for most of my life that I might be neurodivergent. I'd always felt a bit odd, a bit on the outside. There were things that other people did, particularly sort of socially and connecting with people, and the kind of energy that they had, that they seemed to be able to do things effortlessly that I just didn't get. My brain just wouldn't let me get them. So I always felt like I was at a bit of a deficit or a bit of a failure in those sorts of ways. But I had no idea that I might be autistic or ADHD, because growing up, you know, I'm 50 now. When I grew up, it just wasn't considered that girls or women or people who present as female could be autistic or ADHD. They were very much seen as boys' conditions. So I kind of skated through life, and my autism has definitely been the prevalent of my neurospiciness. And I, very academic. I fitted in brilliantly at school because I followed all the rules, pathologically followed rules. I was never in any trouble. So nobody ever considered that I might be struggling in any way. But I got my diagnosis at 47 because I had started looking into different ways that autism presents to try and support my eldest child, who's non-binary. And it was as I was reading about those traits that are often seen in people who are female or have been brought up as female, that I just had my epiphany moment. And it was a light bulb moment of, oh my God, this is me. And of course, before I went and did anything with it, I went and spoke to my husband about it. And I thought he would just say, no, you're just seeing autism everywhere because you've been reading about it. And of course he didn't. He leaned back against the kitchen counter and went, well, yeah. That's not quite the reaction that I was expecting there. Tell me more about that. And, you know, he said, well, why did I need to say anything? It's just a label. It's just a box. You're you. I love you for you. It doesn't matter if you're autistic or not, which is all very lovely. But it's like 25 years we've been together, 25 years. You know, I need a label and a box. Why didn't you tell me? So I had that moment, which was transformational for me. And I started therapy afterwards to unpick all the years of masking and how that had impacted my self-esteem and my self-belief and so on. But it didn't feel like the whole story. And it was when I hit perimenopause and my hormones obviously did all the weird and wonderful and crazy things that they do in perimenopause, that my ADHD symptoms really came to the fore. The executive dysfunction, actually my sensory triggers just went off the charts as well. I was so fatigued. I just didn't feel like me. And then that was the trigger for exploring the ADHD diagnosis. And that was really helpful as well. But actually for me, neither of those diagnoses in and of themselves were the whole picture. And it was understanding finally that there was a link between what my hormones were doing and the way that I was feeling and the way that I was behaving and reacting to things. And I know that sounds really obvious because all of us who experience a cycle like that, we know that we feel different at different times of the month. But I had no idea just how much that cycle was impacting me until my hormones did their weird thing in perimenopause. And I don't think we talk about it enough. And I think it for me, certainly, it was a really damaging thing to have that experience on a monthly basis and not understand why I felt the way that I did or why I couldn't cope in the way that I normally would. And I just think we need to be talking about it more.
I absolutely agree. And it has been, and I'm exactly the same. I definitely feel like autism is my primary diagnosis, but the further I get into perimenopause, I'm at 44 now, the more wild my ADHD becomes. The emotional dysregulation is next level. I can always count on like one hand, like the days that I don't cry in a month. Maybe
Yeah.
two. But it's a lot of days. Also, the other thing is, you know, I think getting into your 40s anyway, your capacity for thing dwindles maybe to what it was in your 30s and 20s, and you know, in any circumstance for anyone, that is it smarts a bit, like it's a bit of a hard thing. But I have noticed that I feel a significant limited capacity with things now, because it drains too much of my energy. It takes too much of me. It takes too much of my spoons. I know if I push too hard, there will be tears. Like it's almost like guaranteed, and it's not. And I think tears are very misunderstood generally. I mean, for me as a neurodivergent person, tears are just like, I always explain it like a boiling pan. So if I've been overwhelmed, overstimulated, there's been sensory sensitivities, that it's just boiling and boiling, and the steam needs somewhere to go and release, and that's tears. And it's not crying because you're sad or depressed or anything. It's just part of managing your nervous system and how you regulate. And so that I've tried to understand that more about myself. But yeah, that sort of diminished capacity in things is galling at times and makes you feel like you're going backwards. And I think it's this really like cruel fate that you get to like your mid-40s, top of your game, probably top of your career, and then you get like sideswiped by perimenopause, and you feel like you should be doing all of the things now, but actually you're having to take stuff away. So yeah, I totally hear you. And I think it is important that we do still talk about the fact that you can be a professional, capable adult doing all the things, but also need to take time for yourself to rest, to decompress, to recharge and shut yourself away as well.
And that's something also that I don't think we talk about enough, because knowing what I now know about my brain and my body and the way the two work together, and or the way that they would like to work together, and the way that I've kind of fought against that in the past, I just don't think we talk enough about the fact that you can still be at the top of your game. You can still achieve extraordinary things. You just need to look after yourself in a different way. And it's that looking after yourself that is so difficult. I don't need to not do the things that I do in my job because my hormones are playing up, or because I'm neurodivergent. I just need to work with myself in a different and better way. So taking those rest breaks when I am socially drained, taking time out to recharge and do those really important things, that enables me to stay at the top of my game and to do the things that I do successfully. But we don't talk about that enough either. And somehow it's seen as a weakness if we say, I'm not peopling today. The world is just too peoply, so I'm going to get down and I'm going to do my admin. I mean, actually, for me, saying I'm going to do my admin, the ADHD bit of my brain then gets just like no's and is screaming. And so there are tricks I have to play on my ADHD brain to get the admin done. But now that I've accepted that about myself, and I have kind of forgiven myself, not that there was anything to forgive, but I've forgiven the things that I saw as my failings in the past, I can work so much more effectively because I look after myself better. And I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a saint and I stop when I should and I do all the things that I should all of the time, because I don't. And anybody that knows me really well knows that that's not the case. And I would say, honestly, I'm seeing a lot of signs of burnout in myself at the moment, and I'm so glad I've got a long Christmas break to recover. But I'm also managing those signs of burnout, and I am taking time out. I know what I need to get done. I know what I can leave, and I'm looking after myself. But we don't support people in looking after themselves properly. And that well-being piece is so, I don't know, it's almost dismissed, I think.
Yeah.
And people aren't encouraged to invest in their well-being.
Yeah, it is definitely seen as a sign of weakness, like stopping or resting. I try to help all of my clients sort of navigate around the guilty rest. You know, like I know I need to be resting, so I'm going to, but I'm going to also sit here and feel like really guilty about all the things that I should be doing. And so I call it guilty rest, and it's not very restful at all. It's actually quite stressful.
It's
Because
worse than carrying on at full pelt, isn't it, when you've got that guilty rest, because you're not resting and you're just chewing yourself up with all of that internal monologue about the guilt. And I bet a lot of people in guilty rest will also sneakily get the phone out and they'll be doing emails on their phone. Don't do it.
I'm resting. I'm on the sofa. I'm watching a thing, doing my emails. That's not
resting.
And also, you know, rest doesn't have to be like doing nothing. Like for some people, sitting doing nothing is pure hell. I mean, it could be active rest, going for a walk, indulging in a special interest, going to the gym, whatever it is. It's just something that is like less taxing for you in whatever way that you were finding things taxing before, whether it's like less like mentally taxing, less physically taxing for you, and finding something that gives you like peace and freedom away from what you were doing. So I think we also kind of need to reframe like how we look at rest as well, and recovery.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, rest isn't necessarily just stopping doing everything. It has, I think, if we think about purpose, sometimes that can help. What is the purpose for what you're doing? And if your purpose is that you're working, fine, focus on work. That is your purpose. But if your purpose is that you're looking after yourself, do the stuff that recharges you. And for some people, for my husband, for instance, that would be spending time with a big group of people, because he's such an extrovert. You know, he soaks up all of that energy and that recharges him. I know. No, my social battery is draining just thinking about it. For me, it would be solitary time, and it would be time doing things that make me feel good, whether it, you know, cross stitch. I've discovered I love cross stitch. The repetitiveness of cross stitch, it's just really soothing and really comforting. So I'm getting back into doing my crafts in the evening and trying not to use my tablet and devices as much in the evening. So things like that for me are really helpful. Being out in nature, it's the things that make you feel good about yourself, which I think are really helpful, and just maybe reframing it to purpose rather than rest could be a way to help with that and help people find the things that work for them.
Yeah, and it is strategic. I say this all the time, rest, whatever that looks like for you, is strategic because it sets you up. You know, you can't wring more out of someone that's already wrung out, and we have to sort of recharge at some point. And you know, it is, you know, like athletes use rest days as a part of a strategy. We also need to use rest days, and you know, we are driven by the grind culture, I think, for a large part. But it is important, especially in perimenopause, when our, you know, tolerance to stress is lower, higher, whichever way we deal with it worse, because we don't have like our regular hormone balance to kind of support us. We're losing progesterone because we have less ovulatory cycles, so more susceptible to stress. That's the word I wanted. Susceptible to stress. You know, progesterone helps our parasympathetic, our rest and digestion. Without that all the time, you know, it's more dysregulating for our nervous system as we're acclimatizing to and recalibrating to having less progesterone and estrogen. And so now is the time more than ever to like think about actually what recharges you, like what fills your cup, what gives you more space.
Yeah, totally. And also remembering that hormones also impact other chemicals in our body. So hormones can trigger or impact dopamine and serotonin as well, which particularly for ADHDers can have a massive effect on not just how you're feeling, but also how you can cope with things, the way that you can process and receive information, plan, your sensory susceptibilities. So it's recognizing that these things do have an impact. And when you start to feel that you are not functioning in a way that feels like you, rather than pushing against it, recognize it, go with it, and do the things that will enable you to look after yourself and still function in the way that you want to. And it absolutely can be done. I mean, I'm finding now at 50 that I feel finally that I'm getting much more of a handle on how to work with my energy levels. And I've got several chronic conditions. I've got fibromyalgia, I've got rheumatoid arthritis, I've got scarring on my left lung from when I had COVID and pneumonia. That's been quite stressful because I thought I had ILD at one point, which is a horrible lung condition. I don't have that, thankfully, but I've got all of these things ticking over as well. And I just have to recognize the impact that all of this stuff, all of these chemicals in my body have on the way that I'm able to manage my energy levels, the energy that I've got, the mental capacity that I have, and maybe switch to doing different tasks when I'm at different stages and having different, experiences with my capability. So I know that when I'm feeling really dysregulated, that is not the time to try and sit down and write a long paper or do my admin. That is the time to do something that I can do in much shorter spurts. So it could be researching venues, just easier stuff like that is more accessible to me. And that's still an important part of my job. And I'm still getting stuff done, and I still feel that personal satisfaction of getting stuff done, as opposed to feeling like, oh my God, I'm letting everybody down because I'm not doing this big long paper that I should be writing. So there's something about working with your rhythms and scheduling work patterns and so on around what you're able to do at particular times. And I just think we're just not supporting people in doing that. I keep coming back to it. We just don't talk about this stuff enough.
Yeah, 100%. Now you're talking my language. Working in tangent with our inner rhythms. I mean, that I will bang my drum for as long as I can keep banging a drum about it. And it's not a woo-woo thing. It's working with our biology, which is just science. So, I mean, when it makes good sense, if you push yourself at a time when your hormones are lowest and your energy is lowest, you're not going to have the same output as when you're working in tangent with a time where you have more energy. But I will say, the frameworks out there don't account for the specific shifts for neurodivergence, and that it might look quite different for you as a neurodivergent person to know like when those peak times are, or it might not be a peak time, especially if you've got something like fibromyalgia. It might just be managing a sort of a more lofty time rather than a peak time, and sort of and even looking smaller on a more micro level, like the circadian rhythm, looking actually how you're managing your day to day and your energy, your cycle, your circadian rhythm day to day, as a way of, because sometimes with fibro it is just a day at a time, because dependent on like flare-ups or any chronic condition or autoimmune disease. I just saw a question in the comments about the impacts of birth control. So it depends on the birth control. I mean, during cycling years, birth control will, so without birth control, hormones will have a kind of fluctuating up and down, and on birth control, they kind of just flatline a little bit. So there isn't the same peak, but there is still a cycle. As you go through into perimenopause, depending again what they are, sometimes birth control can mask perimenopause symptoms, like on the coil, for example. Sometimes they might not be as impactful, and you'll still go through it. You'll just be on birth control. So if the birth control is playing to the right hormones that you need, dependent on your perimenopause experience, it might mask it for a bit longer. So I hope that answers the question. But yeah, it depends.
But a great question. And isn't that frustrating that that's another thing that isn't talked about? Is that it's not just, and this is why I love that we've got this mashup of the neurodivergence and our hormonal cycles as well. But the fact that our hormonal cycles are obviously impacted by birth control, our hormonal cycles impact neurodivergent traits and the way that we are able to cope with and kind of meet the world. But we're not talking about birth control for neurodivergent people and the impact that that could have, for better or worse, on other things that they're experiencing within their bodies or within their brains. We should just be talking about this more. And I think part of it is because most GPs don't know enough about it. most GPs would look at you, and I love your phrase, woo woo. This isn't woo woo. This is science. This is biology. But most GPs would look at you as if you had just said that, I don't know, that Mystic Meg said that I need birth control. They take it with that degree of seriousness. They wouldn't consider it to be something scientific and rational. It would be dismissed, as sadly so often women's pain and women's symptoms are dismissed.
Yeah, absolutely. Glenn's just given a bit more clarity. 30 years old, undiagnosed ADHD and on the pill. So there's different variations of the pill, but for the most part, it will create a synthetic cycle. So again, the hormonal levels they kind of flatline. So normally in the first half, you have a peak of estrogen and then it drops off. And then in the second half, a peak of progesterone. But because they will be synthetic hormones, they just kind of level out. But that's not to say that there won't be a cyclical experience. It might not be as prominent. It might be more subtle. I wouldn't say that it would mask any neurodivergent traits, but there is a really good book I would recommend. It's by Sarah E. Hill and it's called Your Brain on Birth Control. And I think for anyone that takes the pill or hormonal birth control, it's just what I am an advocate for is informed consent and just understanding what you're taking and the impacts it has on you, because it does impact everyone differently. I didn't get on with the pill. I didn't like the mood swings that it gave me. So it could be that it exacerbates different things. And yeah, that I hope that helps. But that is a really good book and a good reference to have a look at.
I think the thing is, as with anything, there is no one size fits all solution, is there? And that's why it's so important that people are informed and that they're aware that there are different options that will affect them differently. And that's why it's so good that conversations like this are happening, and that hopefully we are getting the word out and at least making people think that they do have options and there are choices they can make around this, and that they do have a right to those choices and those options.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, aware of our time, I knew we would go over. I just wanted to sort of pick up like what we were going with, the things that we're going to touch on. I think we kind of alluded to this, like what gets missed when we only focus on performance instead of well-being. And that is a completely wrung out human being with no boundaries, dysregulation for executive
no capacity for anything.
Capacity. But I really hate the word productivity. Productivity is like an end. It's a result. It's not something to like focus on. And I think more interesting words are motivation, like how motivated are we as like individuals, engagement, trust. Those are things that if you get those things right will result in productivity, but there's more to focus on than productivity. Like, how do you get there? What are the things that make people productive? And I think like performance is kind of the same. Like, what are the metrics behind that? How do you measure performance? Because for me, I think for neurodivergent people, like it's all about like our motivating factors, like, and how like safe and supported we feel in a space. What do you think?
I think, I agree with all of that. The two words that I really think we should be using more in these conversations are thriving. If we can help people to thrive as individuals and collectively as part of a workforce or a team or society, that's going to help people with productivity. But I also think in a workplace sense, the other really, really important word is belonging. If you want workplaces where people are, and let's use the word productive, where they are successful, where for a workplace you are seeing the outputs that you want, which for most commercial organizations are, higher revenue, all of that stuff. If you want that to happen, you have to create a workspace where your people feel that they belong, where they feel they can thrive, and where they feel safe and supported. And when we talk about that, when we talk about the well-being aspect of it and put that above the productivity and all of that stuff happens by accident. Because when you've got people who feel motivated, engaged, who feel that they are valued, that they have ownership over the things that they do, when they're treated like adults, when they're given that respect to be able to have autonomy over the way that they do their job as long as they're delivering the required outputs, that's when you create that sense of belonging. That's when people feel that they want to stay and they want to work. And that's when you also create empowered individuals who are able to say, actually, I need to step back a bit because I'm a bit broken at the moment and I need to take some time out, or just I need to switch my focus this week because I can't plan. I can't do that detailed executive functioning bit. Thriving and belonging for me is what we should be aiming for. And everything else comes around that. And that's why the concept of workplace well-being has got to be so much more than just tick boxes. You can't just say, well, we've got an employee assistance plan. That's, they all know the phone number to ring. We can't say, oh, well, we've got yoga balls in the office. We've got a breakout area that's got, I don't know, bright lights and fluffy cushions in it. That's not workplace well-being. Workplace well-being is a cultural thing. It's a belief and values thing. And it's something that is in some ways quite intangible, but actually there's a lot that you can do to create it. And if you want your staff to feel that they are thriving and belonging, you've got to take it seriously, and you've got to believe it, you've got to mean it, and you've got to be authentic about it.
Yeah. And actually, we've been having some great conversations with Glenn about this.
We absolutely have. And I love that we're talking about workplace wellbeing with Glenn and with Bill and with the Workplace Wellbeing Academy faculty, about workplace wellbeing in that 360 degree perspective, the orchestra pit, as Glenn and Bill talk about it. Watch this space. I think there might be a book coming out about this in the new year. But thinking about it in the round, rather than just a series of, oh, well, we've done that, we've thought about that, we've ticked that off. That's not how well-being works. Well-being is 360. It's whole person, whole organization. And it comes, I think, well-being comes from the heart. If you don't believe it and you don't live it as a CEO, as a director, as a manager, then it's performative and it will mean nothing, and people will see through it. And that is the fastest route to people feeling disenfranchised, undervalued, underappreciated, and ending up either in burnout, off work with stress, or just leaving, walking out the door.
100%. Could not agree more. What do you, if you were to give like 3 like accommodations, like either that an individual could make for themselves, if they're not in a place that has things in place for them, like what they could do, or from a workplace standpoint, wherever you think that whatever nuggets of wisdom you think that you can deliver best.
Oh, nuggets of wisdom. Okay, so the first thing is a personal one. And if you are neurodivergent, if you have health conditions, if you are struggling at work in any way, the first thing, I think the most important thing, is be kind to yourself. And that's really easy to say. It's not so easy to do, but you have to put yourself and your well-being first. And that recognition that you matter, that acknowledgement that you matter and you are enough in whatever capacity or state or capability you're in at the moment, you are enough. That can be really freeing if you can tell yourself that enough and make yourself believe it, because recognizing that about yourself is the start then to being able to put the things in place that support you and enable you to be the best version of you that you can be. For employers, I would say the biggest thing that you can do is to listen and to not make judgments about, well, so-and-so's autistic and this worked for them. Somebody else has a chronic health condition and this worked for them. One size does not fit all. So you have to be prepared to listen to what people need and respond to it. And the thing I would say to employers is that the pushback is, oh, but we can't afford that, and if we do that for one, we have to do it for all. And okay, no, you don't. You don't have to do the same thing for everybody. Doing the same thing for everybody isn't equality. Doing for people what they need to be able to have the same degree of access and opportunity, that's equity. It's about giving people the tools they need to be able to thrive and feel that they belong. So don't put blanket policies in place, listen to people. And don't medicalize this. Don't say to people, you have to tell me your diagnosis before I can do anything. Why? Why would you put people on the spot like that? If you can see that somebody needs a later start time because they've got childcare responsibilities or caring responsibilities or whatever it might be, do that, because you'll get the best from them. So don't force people to disclose things. Don't say, well, once you've disclosed why, then we can talk about it. Make it something real. And the final point on that is that I know myself as somebody who is entitled to accommodations, and I'm hugely privileged. I have an amazing employer that is just phenomenally supportive and just gets it. So I don't feel that I can't ask for things that I need. There have been a lot of years when I couldn't, both because of my internalized ableism and the environments I was working in, but I'm not in that position now. As I say, very privileged. The things that people who need accommodations will ask you for as an employer are not big. We're so scared usually of asking for anything that we ask for tiny things, and we ask for things that realistically pretty much any workplace can do.
Yeah.
So we might ask for a flexible working day, and that's even easier to accommodate now with hybrid working and home working. We might ask for a space that has slightly lower lighting because really bright lights could be very triggering for us. We might ask to be able to wear headphones at our desk. We're not asking for big stuff. So don't make people jump through hoops for this stuff that is really easy to do. Make it part of normal conversation. Oh, I can see that, you look like you were really struggling there with all that noise around you. Do you want a quiet office to work in, or do you want to wear your headphones? And don't wait for people to come to you. That's when we start to move away from tick boxes and performative stuff into real well-being and a genuine desire to help people thrive and be their best. Make it part of the normal conversation.
Oh, I love all of those things, and I totally agree. And headphones, it's not being antisocial. If you want that person, then just email them. Like, I used to wear headphones at work, and people used to like stand by my desk talking to me and be like, clearly wearing headphones, like, just email me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is frustrating. That's just such a simple one, especially in like open plan offices.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's not hard though, is it? Inclusion, belonging, supporting people, well-being. It's not hard when it's genuine and authentic.
Yeah, exactly that. Oh, this has just been, we could just have talked all morning, probably afternoon as well. We have had very long chats in the past. We just go on and on. So much to say. But thank you so much. Is there anything that you didn't get to say, or anything you're working on that you would like to promote or share, or where can people find you? All of those things.
Oh, thank you. So you can find me on LinkedIn. There's not many tree halls on LinkedIn, so do feel free to reach out and connect with me if you haven't already. Please, if you haven't checked out Neuro Nibbles on Spotify, and actually there's a Neuro Nibbles Supersize with the lovely Glenn on there as well. Do go and have a listen to that. As I say, I had to take a break this year towards the end of the year, but I'll be back with that in the new year. If people have got stories they want to tell on Neuro Nibbles, get in touch. Would love to do some more Neuro Nibbles with people, and as I said earlier, we're gonna get a session booked in for the new year as well. And I hope to be doing more in the neurodivergent space next year. So if you think I can help you, if you'd want some coaching, if you would like me to come and talk with your organisation about lived experience of neurodivergence, I mean, God, a parent to neurodivergent children battling the education system, happy to talk on any and all of these things. Just if there's something you think I can help with, reach out. I'm here, and I do want to change the world, because I don't want my kids to have the same struggles I did. So if I can just make the world a better place a little bit, just for anybody through the things that I say and do, then that's success for me. So reach out.
Yeah.
And bear with me if at first I don't reply, please keep nagging, because it'll be a time when I'm low executive function and I'll think I've replied to you and I haven't. I don't mind being nagged. Keep coming at me if you need me and I haven't replied.
Gentle persistence.
Gentle persistence. Definitely.
Yeah, and you're an incredible speaker. I saw you speak at the IGPP, and that was amazing. So yes, Tree is amazing. Get her in your organisation.
Well, back at you, definitely. I mean, this is Mutual Appreciation Society now, but yes, you are also amazing speaker and just so knowledgeable about all things to do with hormones and cycles and how that impacts people. So, and it's something that we should be talking about more, and it doesn't matter if your body bleeds or not. As a society, we should just be talking about this stuff so much more, and we'd all be a lot less hung up if we did. So yeah.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining us, and especially anyone that stayed with us past the 20-minute mark into the 40.
Sauce.
But it was so good. Right, this is my last Neuro Nibbles, Neuro Nibbles, the last bloody truth of the year. I'll be back next year with the incredible Cynthia Fortledge. So yes, good conversations. Right. Have a lovely day, everyone, and speak to you soon.
Happy Christmas,